In short-term rentals, control is the real competitive advantage. Control over your bookings, control over your guest experience, control over how your business grows in 2026. Lodgify gives rental operators the tools to build direct booking websites, automate guest communication, and manage every channel from one platform without adding complexity. This is how rentals stop feeling reactive and start feeling more intentional. Skift Daily Briefing listeners get 20% off any yearly or bi-yearly Lodgify plans with code SDB20, available through March 2026. Details are in the show notes.
Welcome back to the Skift Daily Briefing. It's Thursday, April 9th. I'm Sarah Dandishi, and today we're talking about Delta warning that the fuel shock could reshape the airline industry, why CEO turnover is suddenly a real risk for America's best carriers, and how travel companies are trying to move AI from cute pilots to actual infrastructure. Let's dive in. The Delta CEO says the fuel crisis could force the industry to change. Delta CEO Ed Bastian says elevated fuel prices are creating a new kind of urgency, and he expects it to drive structural shifts across the airline industry, especially for low cost carriers that have less room to absorb higher operating costs. Now, he says the oil shock feels different from past cycles because of how fast prices have moved. Skift cites an average jet fuel price of $4.81 a gallon as of Tuesday, using Argus data published by Airlines for America. Now, Delta is already responding. They're cutting capacity, raising fares, and increasing baggage fees, including a $10 more for first and second checked bags and $50 more for a third. But what's interesting here is that Bastian says demand hasn't slowed down, or there hasn't really been a clear impact yet, especially at the higher end. But the industry response is still turning more defensive and more survival of the fittest. The bottom line, higher fuel doesn't just mean pricier tickets, it can accelerate consolidation and force weaker players into tough choices. Next up, speaking of airlines, what happens when the CEO leaves and the airline is the CEO? Next up, in a piece by Rafat Ali, his take, the best airlines in the US are also the ones that are the most personality dependent. And boards are acting like succession is a later problem because the premium era is going well. But he argues it's not. He points to Delta and United as carriers where strategy and identity are closely tied to dominant leaders, and contrasts that with Americans' identity crisis and internal revolt, plus Southwest's ongoing dismantling of its founder era model as a cautionary tale of what happens in the gap between personalities. Now, one sharp line in the piece is that the idea that these companies may no longer be airlines, so to speak, so much as premium and payment systems that happen to just fly planes. And the real question is whether that system is durable without the person who tuned it. The takeaway, success buys boards time, and that's exactly why succession risk gets ignored until it's suddenly urgent. And finally, AI is moving from pilots to plumbing. A deep dive from Amadeus on the next phase of AI in travel, less experimentation, more integration. The argument is that the hard part isn't building a chatbot, it's connecting AI to the systems that actually run travel. So, shopping, pricing, booking, ticketing, servicing, and disruption management. They frame it as an orchestration problem, multiple specialized agents doing different tasks, coordinated across complex workflows, with governance, compliance, and reliability as the gating factors for scaling beyond pilots. So, the bottom line here, the winners won't be the companies with the flashiest AI demos. They'll be the ones that make AI dependable enough to touch real bookings without breaking trust. Well, that's it for today's Skift Daily Briefing. For more travel industry news and analysis, head to skift.com. And to subscribe to the Daily Briefing, go to skift.com/daily. Thanks so much for listening.